Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour, Sio, Assalamu Alaikum. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Leave a comment, interact with me. Thank you. I really do appreciate your viewership. Let's jump into it. Another one, I want to talk about strange events, especially when there's all these hurricanes happening, adverse weather conditioning, coastal flooding. It's not just happening here, it's happening in other places around the world too. I saw a picture of a place in Thailand and the water had risen tremendously. So between that, people say the polar caps are melting, or the ice ring, depending on which way you look at it, or whichever way you might lean. You know, theoretically, concerning about the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty much it's been hotter than it's ever been, so the temperature of the water is rising. So that's why some scientists are saying that a lot more hurricanes are starting in that region now, more intense hurricanes. I want to talk about what happened down there in North Carolina, right? So besides, all the stuff that I covered before, I wanted to talk a little bit more about those lithium deposits and those quartz deposits. I'm finding out that we have the third largest lithium deposits in the world, and it's right there in that area. So also, it's a very large quartz deposit there, quartz crystal. And if you know anything about technology, all smart devices use quartz crystal and lithium inside of them now. If you know about lithium batteries, that's one way to look at it. You need a source of power, a source of energy, to make this technology run. So the boom in smart devices, e-vehicles, things of that nature, it's a large movement toward that. They want to cut out, fossil fuels, automobiles that run off, diesel, fossil, things of that nature. They want everything to run off electricity. So it's a large push to move toward that. So the company that's actually doing the mining there, and they're making a deal with Tesla. It's a company called Piedmont Lithium. So Piedmont Lithium Company is dealing with Tesla in order to help mine and supply them with the quartz and the lithium that they need in order to make, technology and, more technology for Tesla. That's just one way to look at it. So in the wake of all this devastation, somebody stands to make money, fam. Like, no matter which way you look at it. So whenever there's casualties or death, someone stands to make money. There's an old saying I heard, like, mobsters use, or bankers, things of that nature, pretty much the same thing. But I heard this in movies, and this saying goes, when there's blood in the streets, buy property. So it's like, when there's death, property value goes down and you buy it. But that's just one way to look at it. When there's death, there's a profit to be made. So if you start looking toward the money trail, you follow the money, and you really see who stands to make a profit off of death and destruction. That, and it's very, very strange, because when's the last time you heard about mountains flooding? They have gravity on the side, everything should run downhill. So if anything, you'll hear about valleys flooding, places where, where the river runs, overflowing, and, but I heard reports that water was actually being pumped up the mountains, in order to, help flood those areas, but besides just the torrential rains. So I would expect, more reports of like mudslides and things of that nature. If it's so much rain, torrential rains, and it starts moving the the land. It starts getting muddy, it starts getting too heavy, sediment starts shifting around and moving and things of that nature, and of course gravity, and it goes downhill. So I would expect more reports of mudslides and something like that. But it's flooding, so very, very concerning, fam. Very, very concerning. And then I was also seeing reports of helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters, FEMA helicopters, sabotaging the efforts of like volunteers. So normal citizens volunteering, setting up like little sheltered areas, little encampments, in order for people to get supplies, food, water, clothes, medical aid and assistance, help people organize for evacuations, death tolls, seeing if anybody's missing, or trying to organize rescue efforts. So the Black Hawk helicopters, the video I saw was literally flying very low, knocking a lot of debris and, just pretty much messing up the efforts that these people, were trying to get together in that area. And it didn't even land. It just hovered lowly, and was like, using the wind from the blades to, knock stuff over and make a mess. And then it was a runway, so other pilots could potentially fly into that area, maybe volunteer rescue pilots. But the Black Hawks were sitting there on that runway, blocking it, so no other aircrafts could potentially land in that area. There's reports of a man who had his own helicopter who was doing rescue efforts, and was told by a fire marshal that if he continued to fly in that area, because they deemed it a no-fly zone, that he would be arrested if he would continue to try to fly in there and rescue and help evacuate people. Very, very concerning, people. Like, very, very concerning. It makes me think about what happened in Maui when the authorities were blocking people from evacuating safely, and they had to flee into the ocean in order to escape the flames. So it's very, very concerning. You can't always expect people in places of authority to always have your best interests at heart. It's always good to use critical thinking skills, use your God-given discernment. I hope everybody, everybody finds their loved ones, people get out safely, that, the efforts there continue to go, actually continue to improve and continue to get better. I know shipments of supplies are being shipped there to North Carolina and things of that nature. But we also have to think about the hurricane that just hit Florida. All right, I want to talk a little bit about that as well. So Hurricane Milton, they say it could have been potentially hit when it made landfall. It might be a Category 4, Category 5. I believe it hit last night, and it was a Category 3 when it made landfall. But it was concerns about a lot of debris that was still in the streets from Hurricane Helene that came through, a week before. That the county and the governor didn't get a chance to clean up a lot of that debris, because with winds moving at extremely high rates, the more trash and debris will become airborne projectiles. And if you know anything about tornado type winds, because tornadoes did also touch down in Tampa, that winds at that high rate, even something like a pen or a pencil can penetrate a wood door, can penetrate windows. And that's why they always say it's important to stay away from windows when there's like extremely high winds, because projectiles can fly through the window, and that shrapnel, all of that debris, glass, can do a lot of damage, So I hope a lot of people evacuated. I heard reports about some people trying to bunker down and actually, ride it out. They were doing a lot of evacuation efforts. I felt that the sheriffs and the police in that area were doing their best to help evacuate people, because they knew that they would not have enough manpower to actually help evacuate people if major flooding did occur. So in order for them to prevent, more people going out to risk their lives to help rescue others, that they'll just move the majority of people out of there. So a lot of people did get to emergency shelters that were set up in higher grounds, higher altitudes, in order to avoid flooding. A lot of people were able to get out of the area, but on the other hand of that, flights out of Tampa were being incredibly gouged, like price gouging, gasoline, the price of gasoline. A lot of the gasoline was running out, so people were trying to travel and get out of there. They couldn't get fuel. People who were trying to catch flights and get out of there, flights were $800 to $1,000, you know, in order to catch a flight out of Tampa. Like I said, whenever there's like death, whenever there's casualties, someone stands to make $1, someone stands to make $1, you know. So I found that very, very concerning, because in a state of emergency like this, you would feel that there would be buses, shuttles, whatever means of transportation getting people out of there free of charge, you know. Of course, you know, airlines are private corporations, and, you know, profit is paramount to them. But you would feel that states who house these airports, these airlines, who do business with these airports and airlines would actually, you know, in the state of emergency type event, would actually, you know, make these people use their transportation for the masses, you know, not just people who can afford it. So that was very, very concerning. The fact that prices were extremely high for tickets, and people running out of gas in the gas stations. So people couldn't get fuel to try to drive the way up out of there. Besides that, there was concerns about FEMA not having enough funding in order to help victims of these, you know, disasters, these natural disasters, these so-called natural disasters, right? Because a lot of people are talking about HAARP, weather manipulation, videos and clips of airlines doing incredibly weird flight paths over the areas that, you know, these hurricanes were starting to take, you know, modifying the path that these hurricanes were taking. But the concerns about FEMA running out of funding to help victims of these events, apparently it was like an independent audit that was done, and this was very concerning. It was an independent audit that was done, and someone just so happened to find, these people just so happened to find $7 billion that was just sitting untouched, that, you know, FEMA had access to, or, you know, some of the other organizations, you know, that work with FEMA had access to, and, you know, it was just untouched money. So a lot of people were saying that that money wasn't forgotten about. It was just put to the side for something else. People were saying like, oh, they want to send it to Ukraine or give it to Israel, or they'll rather give that money to migrants, pretty much anybody who isn't an American citizen. And I was just like, that's very concerning. I'm glad that they found that. And a lot of people were calling for the actual head of FEMA to be, I can't remember the guy's name, but they were actually asking for the head of FEMA to be, like, you know, brought up on charges of treason and things of that nature, because pretty much, you know, it seems like these corporations, these people who are put in these political offices and seats and the head of these organizations that have so much reach and so much power nationally, even internationally, that they're not for the greater good. They're filling their pockets, they're lining their pockets, they're enriching themselves at the cost of American lives, at the cost of American security, at the cost of our data, you know, all of this. So it's very, very concerning. I just wanted to bring a few of these things to your attention. Hopefully you've been paying attention to these current events, these strange current events that's happening here. You know, keep your ear to the ground, keep your feathers up, use that God-given discernment, fam. You know, try not to get caught slipping. You know, keep your head on the swivel. You know, all those sayings. You know, just make sure that you stay aware, so you and your family can stay ahead of the curve just in case a curveball gets thrown in your direction next, because you never know when something like this might happen in your part of town, in your part of the country. It can get really, really bad for people. So stay safe, stay sane, always move toward the light, always follow the money trail. Take care of yourself and your family. Hopefully you're enjoying Ramadan Mubarak. This is your brother Zach Bay. I'm out. Peace.
Have to get away from the Babylon.